Hi. Actually, everybody can hear me, right? Okay. So I'm going to be holding this. So I had an idea basically. I had one idea, and I thought I'll talk about it. It's a small thing. It's about how we can save the world. Okay. So it might sound like a lot of ads we watch nowadays, and you just kind of want to stop and think like, do we really need to save the world? Because I read this quote somewhere saying, if you really want to save the world, please everybody stop. Like, everybody's trying to save it at the same time. There's such a rush to save the world. Okay, I'm gonna hold this like this also. Okay, so sorry. I hope this is not counted in my time. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is what happens when you have a loose collar. Okay. So I'm going to start again. So I said I had an idea and I wanted to save the world. So that's what a lot of people want to do, including some ads which sell coconut oil. I was seeing something. This girl, puts coconut oil on her hair and then she goes out and, the catch line is like, change the world today or something. And it's like, everybody wants to change the world. Like, it's crazy. Everybody wants to come together at the same time. So maybe there's something wrong. So I really wanted to think, like, do we really need to change something? So, like, we just take a second and we look around, watch TV, and let's look at the papers. Like, see, okay, so yeah, we all know about global warming. We know about pollution. We know about extinction of animals, deforestation, and so many other things that are going wrong. So yeah, yeah, probably some small cause for wanting to change something. And if we take that into consideration, and so we are doing so much, we're cutting so many trees to make, the Brazilian rainforest to make toilet paper and all that. So are we really happy, basically? Are we happy? Is the human species happy? And not really. Half the people are either depressed or they're just stuck on to, I don't know, some sort of addiction or the other, cell phones to alcohol to whatever. They're mostly not happy. So basically, so let's arrive at a point where we say, yeah, we do want to see what this talk is about and why I'm talking about changing this world. So, so who does this world need to be saved from is one question, and that is also us actually. So we need to save the world from us. So that's a bit of a responsibility. It's kind of fun and it's a fun contradiction that way. But I'm going to talk about three people. I'm not a scientist. I'm a filmmaker. I just make up stuff a lot. So, and when I'm writing, so I just make up stuff. So I don't have any scientific proof to back this amazing theory of mine. But but that's my job. My job is to bring ideas together. I bring ideas of which I think really make sense, and I bring them together, and I want to present it. That's pretty much it. I can't prove it in a laboratory. But so anyway, I make movies, and the last movie I made was called Yavade Subramanyam, which means who is Subramanyam. And in that movie, there is a scene. Basically, I don't know how many have seen it, but there's a scene where this guy asks the lead character Subramanyam, who is like this very hotshot investment banker, very sure of himself. He's on the corporate ladder. He wants to climb really fast and all that. And so he asks him, so who are you? Like, it's not like very serious. They're both drunk and they're saying, who are you, Rebel? He's asking. So he's saying, who are you? And that fellow says, something fell, sorry. He says, of course I know who I am. I'm Subramanyam. I'm the MD of this company. He says, no, I'm not asking you for your name or your job. I'm asking you who are you? So this guy says, okay, I'm Subramanyam. I'm the son of Ramalingeshwar or something. He says, no, I'm not asking for your family history or something. I'm asking who you are. Who are you? And then he says, okay, I'll allow you. So he's like, okay, so I am Subramanyam. I'm IIT graduate. I did this. And he's like, no, I'm not asking you for your qualification. I'm not asking you for your pay package, your address. I'm not asking you to identify yourself by something else. I'm asking you who you are. So that's essentially what I want to talk about today. Basically about how many people of us really calmly, honestly ask ourselves that question. I'm not saying some philosophical Himalaya kind of thing. I'm just saying just very honestly who we are without trying to associate it with something else. Like, I am happy. I'm not an emotion. Like, I am poor or I'm rich. No, I'm not like, I don't want to be a statistic. Like, we just more core, like, who are you or something. So somebody will come and say, I'm the body, check this out. Like, check out my muscles or whatever. It's like, No, no, I'm not. Okay, so what about like Stephen Hawking or something? Like he's not a body, but you know, he's still someone. So okay, so you're the mind, and what essentially is the mind other than just things that you've read about, seen, heard about from the time when you were a kid, from the time when you're in school, people telling you, la. So it's just accumulation of things. So you're not your mind, and you're not your body because body is also an accumulation. So then suddenly you think like. Suddenly somebody will come up and say, you know, you are the spirit, man, your consciousness, you're the soul. So okay, that's great. That's interesting. So that's very cool. But I don't know where my soul is, or I don't know, or I don't know if how many of you know where your soul or consciousness is. So that's where the first person's idea I'm going to talk to you about starts. The first person I want to talk to you about is Ramana Maharshi. And that's the kind of an inspiration for my movie in a way, because his most famous lesson was who am I? He was very atypical of all the gurus and the yogis we see very commonly who kind of want you to follow their brand thing, and they have branded kurtas and they have toothpaste and all that. So he was more of the kind of guy, and you know, people went and said, Guru, tell me something. He said, what Guru? I'm not Guru, you're only Guru. So he's like, well, he's the kind of guy who said, if whatever you're looking for in me is inside you also. He's saying, the only thing that you need to do is just ask yourself, who am I? And it sounds very simple. It sounds very basic almost. It sounds almost childish. It's like what? Like the answer to everything. Like, sab mil jayega if I just ask, who am I? And that's kind of what he did, and he lived by his thing, and he lived by his idea, which said that whatever's inside him is inside everybody else. Everybody's the same. That's the kind of thing. And see what happens nowadays. As soon as I say yoga, automatically an image comes to most people's minds, which is either some sort of health benefits thing where people are trying to do it to lose weight, or another thing where somebody is criticizing somebody, saying, look, everybody is going into an ashram wearing coordinated clothes and, you know, escaping from society or something. And they both are true right now. I actually have a friend who's following some, I don't know, some Sahajmat something, and he's really happy about his practice and his yoga that he's doing. So I thought that's great. It's helping him. And then after a while, he came back and he met another friend who was going to some other ashram, some art of living or something. And then they both started fighting. They're saying, no, your yoga is wrong, my yoga is right. I'm like, the whole point of going to the yoga is trying to reduce your ego or trying to identify it or something. And now you're essentially just magnifying it even more by piggybacking on your spiritual guru, saying, no, mine is better, yours is better. So, okay, so this is number one person. Sorry, Ramana Maharshi. So, many might have heard about him. Number two person is somebody even I never heard of, but what he did was really exciting. He's an Italian called Giacomo Rizzolatti. Sounds like some dish in a restaurant, but he was amazing. Okay, he's a neurophysicist. He's a neurologist essentially, and he was doing an experiment about 10 years back, where they put electrodes in monkeys' brains. And they were trying to figure out which part of the brain reacts to what, like in terms of like, for example, if a monkey was eating a banana. So they wanted to see what would react, like, you know, when it looks at the banana, what reacts, when it eats the banana, what reacts. So they're trying to find out which part of the brain reacts to that. So they found out there were monkeys eating banana, something is spiking there. They're like, okay, so that is a part of the hippocampus that is actually activating, so that it's useful for even human research later on. So then that's okay, that's not very exciting. But what was exciting is later on the monkey still has his electrodes connected, and there is another intern or whatever who lifted up the banana. So the monkey's, the same place in the monkey's brain where he lifted up the banana, that place got triggered. So the scientists were looking and thinking, like, how is that possible? Because that's, you know, when he lifted it. So when somebody else ate it, the part where the monkey ate it also got triggered. So that was the first time this ever happened. So nobody knew what it was. But in the past 10 years, it's become a pretty popular concept. It's basically called mirror neurons, which is something which we look at something, and our brain automatically reacts in the way that it is as seeing what is happening. That I think is essentially the basis of the whole ad industry. That's what I think anyway. Like, you know, you see like really good food or something, and you automatically think, oh, so yummy. That's mirror neurons. But okay, so mirror neurons are interesting enough. It kind of automatically connects you to like so many people on one empathetic level and all that. So that's interesting. So now we take it one step further with this Mr. Rizzolatti went off, and this Indian called V.S. Ramachandran came in, who used to work on something called phantom limbs. He worked with people whose arms or legs got amputated, and they still thought they had an arm. So that's something called phantom limbs. So he was working a lot with those people. And so what he did was, see, they did the same test with mirror neurons with human beings. So in human beings also, like, you know, if somebody touched you, and you had your electrodes in your brain, you'll also, that same thing would kind of trigger. So again, that's the same thing that advertising or whatever, like even pornography, I'm sure that's how it works, I think, I don't know. Like, you know, the empathetic neurons will just fire up. So so what V.S. Ramachandran did was, he did it with a man who didn't have an arm. Okay, so he pricked me. Okay, I'm the guy. He pricked me, and there's a man in front of me without an arm. So he pricked me, and the guy without an arm felt it. So suddenly you remove the body, because when there was a body, that person you could only get the electrode. He wouldn't feel it. But suddenly you remove a part of the body, and suddenly this person is feeling me. Like that's like literally the most profound, like, mind-numbing thing I had heard of. I was like, you know, sitting in my room in front of a computer, and I got up and I ran around a little and sat again, because it was like, like, it's such a identifiable thing that we are beyond just the body. It's connecting us to something else. So this is guy number 2, who is a biologist, who's a neuroscientist. So guy number 3 is this guy with this crazy hairstyle called Albert Einstein, which everybody knows, and his theory of quantum physics. And there's one particular part of quantum physics which he calls quantum entanglement. I'm sure a lot of you engineers have heard about it, which is very simple. I'll tell you in layman terms whatever is happening. There are two people, A and B, and if A goes this way, B goes this way, A goes front, B goes front. So now you take A, keep him in Kakinada, you take B and put him in the other side of the world in New York or something. So if A is going front, in New York, at the same time B is also going front. Now you take that B from New York and you put him on Mars, okay, like lot further. Now A goes front in Kakinada, B is also going front in in Mars, sorry. And now you take him from Mars and you put him in a different galaxy, like 100 light years away. Now A goes front and B is going front in a different galaxy without any chance for that time for information to be carried over. So what is happening is this system or whatever, it's called entangled pair or something. These microscopic particles, these subatomic particles, they're entangled in a way that they're actually part of a system. They're not separate. Look, so however far you take them, however distant you take them, they're part of the same. They're behaving in the same exact way. This all sounded very scary to Einstein. So because he said there's probably something we don't know about the quantum field, this doesn't make sense. He called it spooky action at a distance. That's his famous quote for it. So, and very, very funnily, exactly 2 days ago, which is 22nd of October 2015, they actually did an experiment in France where they, under laboratory conditions, they proved quantum entanglement. Like they put two photons in two separate places, moved this photon, changed the spin on this, and the spin changed in a place which is about 100 kilometers. I don't know, it sounds very crazy because it's all physics and all, but it's amazing. Like they actually proved the fact that in physics that there's no space and time. Like we are so stuck, like I am here, you are there, you know, I'm doing this today, tomorrow I'm going to be somewhere else. What if there's no space and time? What if everything is the same thing? Is what the essential idea that would come out of this if you really, really simplified. So I talked about basically three people. One man is a spiritualist, one man is a neurologist, and another man is a scientist, and each of them in their own way contribute to the oneness. And if now we ask the question of who I am, who am I? And if the answer to who am I is this oneness that we're talking about, whether it comes to mirror neurons, whether it comes to beyond space and time, whether it comes to just you and me are the same being, then why would anybody even think about ever cutting a tree, for example? Like, it would feel like you're cutting an extension of yourself. Why would anybody be cruel to someone else? Why would anybody run after money and try to, trump like another section of society? Why would they be cast? I mean, it seems like the most basic thing. I think people have been working, we've been firefighting. Like, there's so many aid agencies, there's so many people around the world, they're taking care of poverty, they're taking care of pollution, they're taking care of this, that, but we're all firefighting. Like, there is an effect, and we're all fighting the effects. So the cause is still that fire, it's still happening. So we'll put out the fire, then the fire will start somewhere else. There'll be a rape case somewhere, there'll be a lynching somewhere, there'll be a pollution thing, there'll be one species endangered, there'll be a forest raised. These are all effects. So what if the cause itself is basic awareness and honesty, and if you can address the cause, then I think you have essentially changed the world. You don't need to firefight anymore. You don't need to worry about the effects, because you're going to actually the cause. So, let not, say a sadhu will say, oh, these scientists don't know anything, we have stuff in our Vedas. Let not a scientist say, look at these sadhus, what are they doing? Because it's really stupid for people to think they're different. Everything is just the same in different languages talking about the same thing. And as we go forward, we're seeing that more and more obviously. And so everybody just take a deep breath and ask, who am I?